creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
There are 5 animals that are real but are basically cryptids. First, we have the okapi that was actually thought to be a cryptid for a long time before its existence was proven in 1901. It looks like a cross between a zebra and a donkey and a deer. It's no wonder why they thought that this actually didn't exist. Though nowadays you can find them at most zoos. Second is the indio gigante. This is the largest chicken species in the world that can get up to 4 feet tall. For reference, that's the size of a small child, or the Enfield horror, depending on what you like to use as a comparison. They were originally developed in Brazil, but just look at them. Like, that is exactly what a cryptid is. If you saw that crossing your road in the middle of the night, you would think that that's something else. That's an alien. Number 3 is the platypus. This one also was once considered a cryptid because it has mammalian, reptile, and even bird features. European scientists actually thought that it was something fabricated by Chinese taxonomists back in the day. They thought that they had stitched that duck bill onto the creature. These days, these guys are well protected, unless they're the ones doing the protecting. 4 is the horror frog, and guys, I had to read like 3 different pages before I actually believed that this thing was real. This guy is a frog with fur. It's not even really fur. What looks like hair are actually
It's probably poisonous.
fleshy filaments that increase oxygen flow to the skin and also look just terrifying. To top it all off, these guys have retractable claws made of bone. Whereas most claws are made of keratin, these are actually made of pure bone. Number 5 is the saber-toothed deer, which you really have to see
I like this one right here.
believe. These musk deer are found in Europe and Asia, and there are actually 8 species of these guys. Actually more closely related to antelope or cattle than deer. But regardless, with their deer-like bodies and large tusks, they're basically made to be cryptids.
Wow. Hey, what do you mean the chickens were developed in Brazil?
The Henry McCabe voicemails are part of an unsolved mystery that will haunt me forever. Hi, I'm Grace. Can I be your horror girlie? Henry McCabe was out with his friends drinking when he disappeared on September 6, 2015 in Minnesota. The disappearance happened around 2 a.m. His friends dropped him off at a gas station. And the really weird, creepy thing about it to me is that nobody knows why he was dropped off at the gas station. Nobody knows for sure. But right when he was dropped off, his wife received a very disturbing voicemail. There's moaning, possible cries. He definitely sounds really confused. If you listen closely, you can kind of hear him say, "I've been shot," but that's not confirmed. But that would make sense as to why he would call his wife. A second voice is then heard yelling, "Stop it," before the call ends. He also left a separate voicemail to his brother where he is crying. Now, the really chilling thing about this case is 2 months later, his body was found in a nearby lake. There was no bank activity or sightings that occurred after the call. There were no visual signs of trauma. So him saying on the phone, "Oh, I've been shot," or him maybe saying that doesn't make sense. Like, there's no wounds or injuries of any kind. The autopsy actually suggests that he may be drowned, but they never listed that as the cause of death. They couldn't figure out what the cause of death was. So how did he get from the gas station to the lake? On top of this, the voicemail suggests that he was in extreme distress. But then there's no physical evidence that he was assaulted in any sort of way. Also, something that's really unclear is the timeline between the drop-off of the gas station, the voicemail, and then how he got to the lake. That's really weird. And because of this, his death has never actually been able to be fully, definitely explained. Now, here are the sketchy, interesting facts about this case. His friend who dropped him off initially gave the wrong gas station location to the police. The location was then corrected and proven when they watched the surveillance tapes. Another really weird thing is that the last ping from his phone, so the last time it was connected to a cell tower nearby, was in New Brighton, Minnesota. Henry's body was then found in Rush Lake, which is a lake nearby. And this ping actually gives us a bit of a timeline. So he was at the gas station, he left the voicemail, the phone pinged, and then he was discovered at the lake. So this suggests that he likely stayed in or moved through that region after being dropped off. But then it's like, how did he get to the lake? How did they find his body in the lake? Was he transported? Did he walk there? Regardless, he was supposed to not be found if they found his body in a lake. When he called from a gas station, it sounded like he was dying at the gas station. Other thing to note is that the police and the FBI were involved in this, and nobody could figure out what happened. I hope he rests in peace.
I reckon cops killed him and hid the evidence. What do you think?
Everyone knows the Pied Piper fairy tale, but what if I told you that it might be true? Pull up a chair and let's talk about the Pied Piper of Hamelin. In case you've never heard it at all, let me catch you up. The medieval town of Hamelin, Germany is overrun with rats. And a charming man appears dressed in fine, bright clothing, carrying a flute. He tells the town that his flute is enchanted, and he can lead the rats away for a price. Of course, Hamelin agrees. They're like, yes, please, lead these rats away. So he does. But after the job is done, the town refuses to pay. And this mysterious piper with his enchanted flute leads the town's children away instead. While this sounds like your typical fairy tale, the town of Hamelin is a real place. And it turns out the Pied Piper might also have been real. Stick around to the end because the story just gets stranger. Around the year 1300, a stained glass window that used to exist in this church showed the piper leading away the children. The original stained glass window was destroyed in the 17th century, but descriptions of it survived, and later copies were made from those descriptions. And what did they say? In the year 1284, on the day of John and Paul, on the 26th of June, 130 children born in Hamelin were led out of the town by a piper clothed in many colors and lost at the place of execution near the culprit. But what does it mean? Well, in one medieval tradition, a well-dressed young man named Heinrich von Herford entered the town carrying a silver flute. Heinrich led 130 children away with him, where they promptly disappeared. This story is older than the fairy tale and maintained in Hamelin city records. So the rats weren't the center of the story initially. The children were. The rat catcher episode comes up much later on, and thus the fairy tale was born. What do historians think actually happened here? The main explanation discussed most today is eastward migration. In that interpretation, the term translated as children or kinder refers to younger townspeople rather than only small children. In this theory, the piper becomes a recruiter leading settlers east during the medieval German expansion into regions such as Prignitz, Uckermark, and Pomerania. Other explanations have been proposed over time, tied to war, disease, drowning, landslide, or even accident. So what do we actually know? Once upon a time, there was a stained glass window that existed inside the oldest church in Hamelin. The well-documented description beneath that stained glass window said, 100 years ago, we lost our children. We also have additional records tying a man named Heinrich von Herford to an incident leading 130 children away. So what do you think? Did 130 young people just migrate somewhere else? Could they have followed a recruiter into battle? Did they perish in an epidemic or a famine? Maybe we won't ever know. Or maybe the secret lies somewhere in Hamelin, waiting to be found. You'll find more dark history, mysteries, and folklore on my profile.
Sounds like clone repopulation of major cities.
Wow.
What if 5 of your kids completely disappeared from a house fire, but nobody could ever prove how they died, or if they died? On Christmas Eve in 1945 in West Virginia, a house fire broke out at the Sauter family household. The parents, George and Jenny Sauter, were able to get 4 of their 9 children out, but 5 still remained inside: Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty. It was concluded that they died in the house fire, but even in intense house fires, usually bones leave something behind, and the chances that it would destroy the remains of all 5 children are highly unlikely. And it gets stranger. The ladder that they usually kept in the garage had completely gone missing. It appeared like their phone lines had been cut. And then when George tried to start his 2 trucks that night that usually always worked, they wouldn't start. Over the years, witnesses had claimed to see the children. The next day, a waitress had claimed that she saw the children and served them breakfast. And another witness a couple years later said she saw the children with unfamiliar adults. George and Jenny never stopped searching for their children, and they refused to believe that they died that night. They put a billboard up on the side of the highway that actually sat there for decades. And then, 20 years after the fire, they get a letter in the mail, Ginny and George, and it's just a photograph of a man that looks eerily similar to one of the boys that was lost that night. On the back of the photograph was a signature, and Jenny swears that it's a photo that was sent to her by her missing son. To this day, nobody ever found out what happened to the Sauter children that night, whether they died in the fire or somebody took them.
This woman was a rocket scientist. She had two folks with her in broad daylight on a ridge line with clear sight. She waved to them from 30 feet away, and then she just vanished into thin air. Nobody knows what happened to her. This is Monica Reza. Now, she was not just a basic hiker, okay? She did this on a weekly basis on the same hike with the same group of people. And again, she was a NASA rocket scientist. She was smart as shit. She developed a special nickel alloy that's used in rockets to send into space that we had never had before, right? We always depended on Russia for it. Now we've had it because of Monica. It was called Mondaloy, and the Mon stood for Monica. She was that bitch, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, June 22nd, 2025, she is hiking. She goes missing. They send in dogs. They send in drones. They send in heat scanners. Nothing can find her. All they find is a beanie and some lip balm. There's no body. There's no gear. There's no trace of Monica. Now, if you've been following Missing 411 with me, you know this sounds familiar, but it gets weirder. 4 days after she goes missing, someone posts this on findagrave.com. It's Monica's grave, and it says green burial. Look that up, then you'll understand.
What?
You need a body for a green burial. The more I followed this, the stranger it got, because anyone that had knowledge of how this nickel alloy worked in rockets, they are now either dead or missing, right? There's Monica, who went missing, we just talked about. The co-inventor of this died in 2014. And then the funds for this, William McCaslin at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, he just went missing a few weeks back. The FBI is involved. William disappeared 6 days after Donald Trump said release the UFO files. I don't know about you, but that seems fishy to me, so we'll talk about him next time.
Did you think it was crazy to think these buildings were all bigger than you can see? Did you think they were just AI generated? Are you ready to have your mind blown? Call it what you want. Being at the right place at the right time? I don't believe in coincidences. We are being shown the truth, in my opinion. Are you ready to see something today that you can't find in the textbook? We will be getting to the Illinois State Capitol building today, so get ready. So today, I'm taking a trip to a lot of places. We're going to be checking out some crazy stuff. Buildings that have wild stories. Architecture that does not fit the mainstream timeline. And as always, a lot more. Let's begin with the Streeter Public Library, where we are told the construction began in 1902, and it just popped up January 31st, 1903, which again, we have definitely proven that in episode 41, using artificial intelligence, that this is logistically impossible, and now they are currently restoring it. At this point, restoration, in my eyes, means destruction and removal, especially when the landing in front of the murals are blocked off to the public, and the front entrance is closed to the general public. Let's set the tone for this episode. The murals have never been cleaned since they were supposedly installed in 1905. And here we go. And severe smoke damage occurred to the murals in 1945 when the library had a fire in the boiler room. All right, so we get the nod. We have a hidden restoration process by our incredibly advanced society. Joking, of course. And can we just look at this AI-generated name for a second? This is right in your face kind of stuff. What is the guy's name that supposedly painted the murals? I'm not even going to say it, because if I do, well, you know what it would say. Once you have eyes to see, this kind of stuff just honestly is so in your face and childish. And we all know about how these incredible architects, painters, supervisors, and the rest are killed off immediately after the job is done, or right in the middle of it. So let's take a look at this together. The murals were done in 1905. What year do you think this guy dies in? Well, let's take a closer look. The project is done in 1905, and he's dead in 1905 in New York City? Interesting. By suicide. Now, of course, they care so much about our society that they will close the library down and paint over things that the public should not be seeing. Okay, so we have a very interesting story here, and I want to continue to our next building.
The insane asylums from the 1800s weren't built for insane people at all. Think about it. People always say, if there was a reset, wouldn't everyone have known? But what if the people who did know were labeled insane? In the 1800s, all across America and Canada, massive insane asylums started appearing. Huge buildings, massive stone structures, some of the biggest buildings in the entire country at the time. But here's the strange part. Many of these cities were just being founded. So where did all of these insane people come from? And how did they know there would be so many of them that they built entire castle-like complexes to hold them? Look at the Central Lunatic Asylum in Ohio. It looks more like a fortress than a hospital. Look at the Columbia State Hospital. At one point, it was the largest building in the United States. And then there's St. Vincent Hospital in St. Louis. They say it was built in 1 year. 1 year in the 1800s. With that architecture. So you have to ask yourself, were these buildings really made to treat the insane? Or were they made to silence people who remembered a world that no longer existed?
You know, Trump did sign that executive order to bring back insane asylums. Honestly, it's only a matter of time before they start shoveling us all into these concentration camp style asylums. I mean, how else are you going to restore order? You know, you have to get rid of those that question authority and their narrative. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think.
We should put an entire political party in those places.
So the cult Happy Science actually produced an anime called The Laws of the Universe. Laws of the Universe was a 3-part film series produced by HS Picture Studios, which is Happy Science Studios. You know, and just like most cults, this one was founded by some guy who said he experienced a spiritual awakening and he could communicate with higher beings. And it's crazy because as the years went on, he said that he could communicate with Jesus and Buddha, Confucius, Socrates, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs after he died. He said he was the reincarnation of Earth's supreme spiritual being. But I'll do another video talking about Happy Science as a whole, but the Laws of the Universe anime. It revolves around high school students uncovering an alien conspiracy involving all kinds of different aliens, advanced civilization, and Earth's hidden history. And that's one thing about this cult. It has everything. Aliens, UFOs, Atlantis, ancient civilizations, psychic powers, and of course the secret history of Earth that's actually controlled by aliens. And this ain't the only film that they produced. They produced about a dozen different animes and probably 20 live action films. All of them pretty much talking about their nutbag beliefs. But if any of y'all seen Laws of the Universe and didn't know it was made by this cult?
Jeffrey Epstein was reading a book called The Blackmail Baby. So I was looking through the Epstein files and I found a number of really strange books presented like this. You can see there's the EFTA number down there. Now, I don't know if Epstein purchased these books, if he had these books on his shelves, if this was something digital he had acquired. The files, unfortunately, do not give us that information. But I found the name The Blackmail Baby within the Epstein story to be just like a tongue-in-cheek, like over-the-top, wow, this is really on the nose type situation. But as I kept looking into this, I saw that Epstein had a lot of these books. Or I don't know if he had them, I don't know what this means, but these books keep appearing in the files, and honestly they're all really strange. You've got the Desert King's virgin bride, claiming his pregnant wife, pregnant by the Playboy tycoon, which also I feel like is very on the nose for Epstein, the Spaniard's pregnancy proposal, expecting, bought the Greek's baby, literally talking about purchasing a baby. The Chrysalis baby, I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but all these books seem to be revolving around romance and pregnancy. I could talk about this for hours because there are pages upon pages of these screenshots that I personally found within the Epstein. And it's just really weird. It doesn't necessarily make sense. It doesn't say that Epstein owned these books. I don't really know why these are in the files, but a lot of them have to do with pregnancy and just like babies in general, which I find to be really weird, especially when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein having had these books or come across these books. I don't really know what the answer is there. And you've even got some weird glitches that go on with some of these files. Like you can see here, this book's titled Taken by the Sheik, but on the bottom there's this weird glitch, and then for some reason they actually redacted the woman's face on the book cover, which they didn't do for any of these other covers. So why redact this woman's face? It's just strange, it doesn't make sense. And there are so many of these. The Innocent Surrender, Desert Prince, Defiant Virgin, The Baby Secret, even books like Baby at His Convenience. Now, you can search these books for yourself. These are all real published books. I really couldn't find that much information about the authors of some of these books. But to me, this is just a really bizarre little rabbit hole, and I don't necessarily know what to make of it. I mean, all these books having to do with romance and virgins and babies, and them being in the Epstein files, I mean, Epstein had to have interacted with this media or this content in some way for it to end up in the files. I don't know if he owned these books or if he bought these books online, but if you have any ideas here or any leads you could point me to, please let me know in the comment section. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep talking about this, so follow along for more.
I wouldn't be shocked if he was a ghostwriter or copy editor on these.
Mermaids in the mountains? Let's talk about it. I homestead along a very large river, and I've been connecting with the energy of the river, and in particular, a portal that is anchored within a large tree on the river's edge. This portal is connected to deep, deep earth, and in my experience with it so far, also the oceanic realms. This is where I got acquainted with the mermaids. As a clairvoyant, these mermaids, they appear to me mermaid-esque, but more fish-like, so maybe not so pretty like you see in the movies. And they navigate in deep underwater caves, deep under the earth in the river. I actually saw them placing pearls into these underwater crevices underneath the mountains here, which I find very interesting, and I hope to elaborate on a future video about the pearl specifically. I was shown these mermaids to also be acting as guardians to the annual salmon migration. So it makes sense to me that these mermaid beings are acting as guardians for these salmon and these fish that are coming up to spawn, and their connection to the whales. We are not ascending, or should I say descending, into remembering who we actually are. We're not doing that alone. The whales are grid workers. Beings from the unseen realms are working in tandem with us, so mermaids, dragons, bringing all of this online for us to remember these mer people, or these water beings that I've seen placing these pearls into the deep earth under the mountains is interesting to me. Mountains are massive resonators, so imagine this pearl or a crystal as like a cosmic USB stick that's holding on to these codes, and it's like plugging it into the earth, into these massive resonators, and it's just expanding out into the field. So I know that sounds pretty deep, pretty out there, pretty whoa, Heather. But I've been wanting to talk about this for so long, and there's so much more to say, and there's still so much more like coming into my consciousness on all this. I might be living along a river way up in the mountains far away from the ocean, but there's a direct connection to what's going on in the ocean with the whales, which explains to me the portal here within the cottonwood tree that is along the banks of the river that is probably grown off of nutrients from the salmon themselves.
I feel like she should do forest tours. I'd sign up.
One of the only sources of steel in the world that remains uncontaminated by nuclear radiation.
Yes, hello. What a perfect opportunity to talk about why they salvage steel from pre-1945 shipwrecks at the bottom of the ocean. On July 16th, 1945, the world fundamentally and molecularly changed forever with the first successful atomic bomb detonation. Since then, there's been 528 above-ground nuclear tests, which has the side effect of filling the atmosphere with radioactive particles. So the air we breathe has been just a bit more irradiated than normal ever since. And the other strange consequence is that most of the steel that we produce today is just ever so slightly radioactive. Most steel is made by blowing large quantities of air or pure oxygen into molten pig iron. This process removes impurities from the steel, making it stronger. Since the start of atmospheric nuclear tests, all air, even pure oxygen, has a certain amount of radioactive isotopes, which is how most new steel has been infused by radioactive particles from the air. Steel produced prior to 1945 doesn't have any radiation. It's called low background steel. At this point, you're probably wondering why this even matters, but low levels of radiation can be important in certain types of medical equipment, scientific research, and even rockets going to space, which is how we end up at the bottom of the ocean scavenging for non-radioactive steel from shipwrecks.
These are the only monks in existence to mummify themselves before they died. These 21 monks of the Shingon Buddhism practice something called Soko Shimbutsu, which means to become a Buddha in this very body. And this process was excruciating. The first step is the monks would follow a 1,000-day diet of only nuts, seeds, and roots, following another 1,000-day diet of only tree bark and pine needles. They would take the tree bark and the pine needles and turn it into a poisonous tea. This would lead to severe vomiting and dehydration. They took these steps so they could remove all the bacteria from their body, as well as making their body toxic so it can repel insects and maggots. Then they are sealed in a small stone underground chamber, alive. Every morning, the sealed monk would ring this bell to let people know that he is not deceased yet. The day the ringing stops, they would reopen the chamber after another 1,000 days. If that body isn't decayed, that monk is considered a living Buddha. And if the body had decayed, they were respectfully reburied. Is this an ultimate act of faith, or one of the most terrifying rituals in human history? I want to know what you think.
All for nothing. Jesus is the only way to heaven.
Okay, hold on a second. Are you guys aware that there's a technology that the military refers to as the voice of God? And it's a auditory device type thing where you can beam a frequency, a narrow cone beam of a frequency of sound that will go, and you could point it at someone, and then in their head, or it will sound like it comes out of thin air, they'll hear voices. Like you can speak into the microphone on the one side of this thing, and it goes to someone's head over here or over there, and they think they're hearing the voice of God. Now, this is 100% a real thing. There's two differences, though, because there is a long-range acoustic device, which we know that they use to disperse crowds. But I can't help but remind me and get me thinking about the Serbian protests in 2025, I believe, when everyone's chilling, and then all of a sudden everyone jumps out of the street at the same time because something loud was coming, and then nothing shows up. So you may be thinking, and officially, of course, this is used only for military operations and whatnot, but isn't that a crazy technology to be wielding? The other thing, too, that I do wonder, we do have situations around the world right now where people are starving, hungry, homeless, housing things aren't going good, but we're spending bajillions of dollars on technology and devices and whatnot for military stuff. I just feel like our priorities as a species may require some attention. Although it's not me and you doing this, but we technically, by allowing it to happen, like I'm not saying we're gonna go stop these guys, but it's like, dude, what the same damn's going on here? If I was the president or prime minister or the ruler of this world, it would be so organic, so fast, you wouldn't even know what happened. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
Aldrin's the second man to walk on the moon.
Yes.
His sister, what did she say? I'll let you repeat it.
A buddy of mine was working as he was working as a bartender at an art gallery. They had a particular opening, and he met a woman named Faye Ann Potter, and Faye Ann Potter was Buzz Aldrin's sister. So now I meet with Faye Ann Potter at a restaurant in Larkspur called the Left Bank. We meet. She's like, my brother told me about a UFO encounter that happened in the 60s, but she said he was rattled to the core, that he chased a disc as high as his plane would go, or to the point where it was going to be dangerous. Then she said the other thing that he had told her was that they were followed by something to the moon. She did not say anything about an encounter on the moon, nothing but that there was something that they encountered that followed them to the moon that did not appear, that freaked them out.
I saw this illumination that was moving with respect to the stars. We were smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us.
So that's what she told me. She's like, I think I can get you an interview with Buzz. And I don't know how much more of the story you want me to tell you. Should I tell it all the way up? Okay.
Yeah.
So now I've got Mickey Rooney and his sister, Mickey Rooney and Faye Ann Potter. Mickey Rooney knows Buzz Aldrin. Faye Ann Potter, Buzz Aldrin's sister, both going at Buzz Aldrin saying, you need to meet with James Fox.
Mm-hmm.
So he agrees. Buzz Aldrin, meet me, let's just say it was a Friday. Meet me tomorrow in the lobby, in my hotel lobby. No cameras rolling. He said to me, no camera, don't have cameras rolling. He says, Mr. Fox, there's a telephone call for you, Mr. Aldrin. And I said, oh, okay. I was assuming he was going to be like, hey, I'll be right down. And I was like, yes, go pick up the phone. I'm not doing the interview. I said, what do you mean you're not doing it? It was like, I can't do it. That was kind of frustrating. But anyway, so I talked to Faye Ann Potter. I actually went to her 80th birthday, and she said, somebody's gotten to him. I said, what do you mean? She goes, somebody got to him. She goes, he wouldn't even talk to me about it anymore. But she told me, I swear, that happened.
One of my favorite things about Spooky Scary Storytime since starting the series has been sharing the elder stories from people who maybe told a younger family member something in passing that would have been lost to time had it not been passed along. And so I sort of look at this series as like an archive of sorts of these older stories. Of course, there's no way to prove the validity of any of these stories, but I still think they're interesting. I say that because I just came across an email from someone named Autumn who says that her grandfather passed away in March of this year, and her grandmother passed away 3 weeks after that. And as she was going through their belongings, she came across this article from the newspaper from Truman, Arkansas, from when her grandfather was a boy, and he apparently encountered this creature in the woods that made the local news, and she actually attached the article. It just sort of goes to show you that like these types of strange encounter stories have been around for a long time, even before social media. Trends can obviously make things go viral on social media or create urban legends even, but I thought this one was just a little bit different from the types of stories that I normally cover, so here you go. In the interest of clarifying rumors, not meaning to cause anyone to panic, the following story was told by Nathan Russell, 12, son of Mr. and Mrs. Hubert Russell of Route 3, Truman near Central, and I did clarify that this was Arkansas. Nathan said he was walking through the woods about 9:30 Friday morning, a half mile from a house where Mr. and Mrs. Virgil Radson lived near Central Community. He walked into a group of about 4 pine trees when he said he noticed a creature squatting on the lower branch of one tree with one arm holding onto another branch. The creature was in a tree about 1 foot higher than me and about 4 feet away from me, Nathan said. It jumped out of the tree like an ape, letting its arms swing in front, he related. He made a loud, hard breathing noise that made you quiver all over and scared me to death. We just stood there and stared at each other, the youngster said. He had a sort of gleam in his eyes, and I couldn't move for about 3 minutes after I saw him. Then I began to run, and it was chasing me. It stayed about 2 yards behind me until I got to within half quarter from the Radson's home, the young man explained. He described the creature as having the outward appearance of a cross between a dog and ape with the head and shoulders of a human. It was about 5 feet 8 inches tall and had arms about half as long as mine, the 12-year-old said. Its head was bald, but there was no hair on the neck, but from the neck down halfway there was long hair. From there down, the hair was short like a hound's. It also had human ears and eyes like a hog's, he pointed out. He says that the creature grabbed his left arm with his front paw or arms, told of the paws being soft on the interior of the hand, but they did not leave scratches. His brother says there was a bruise there for about 2 days. After Autumn found this article, she asked her dad about it, and her dad was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know there was a newspaper article about it, but yeah, he did tell me about it one time. He didn't really like to talk about it, but I was watching something about cryptids on my phone, and he opened up about it and explained the story, basically word for word for what is said in this article in remarkable detail. Autumn says she then called her aunt, who is her grandfather's sister, and she asked about the incident, and her aunt corroborated the story, and said, yeah, he didn't leave the house for almost a year afterward because he was so terrified of the woods. Reference, she says her grandfather was born in 1954, and the article references him being about 12, so this would have happened in 1966 when this paper was published.
Yeah, we've all heard of Area 51, but have you heard of Dulce Base in New Mexico? According to conspiracy theorists, it's a 7-story subterranean base that has human-animal hybrids and human-alien hybrids, along with incredibly advanced technology. Claims of this base's existence date back to the 1930s, but it really started popping off around the 1970s when people had spread rumors of alien activity and human experimentation, especially when people started seeing more unalived livestock around town. Reports started coming in of silent, mysterious aircrafts, and people even found fetuses within their unalived cows. And not just cow fetuses, no, that'd be way too simple. They found, allegedly, fetuses of human, monkey, and frog hybrids. Now, why someone would make that particular combo, I don't know, but I'm sure they had their reasons. And there are a ton more stories around this base, but this is Mini Mystery Monday, so I'm gonna keep it short. But if you know anything, let me know. Oh, and if you like weird stuff like this, follow along because we have a mini mystery every Monday, and we also have episodes about lore. So, I gave it.
I think they're making super soldiers or something like in Captain America.
So when Cain leaves Adam and Eve, after Adam and Eve are ostracized from Eden, he goes east to the Euphrates River into Nod. A named place, which is kind of an out-of-part act, unless you understand that there's already more other civilizations and other peoples. I think when we look at Adam and Eve, that is accepted as doctrine that that's the creation of the first humans. Well, it doesn't really say that. We actually get people created on day 6. Now, is that the same creation as Adam and Eve as with day 6? And the likely answer to that is only if you believe the Bible contradicts itself.
This painting won Spain's highest art prize, and critics called it incomprehensible. Painted in 1885 by José Benlliure y Gil, the vision of the Colosseum, or the Last Martyr, is over 35 square meters, and almost nobody understood what they were looking at. Here is what they missed. The man holding the glowing cross is Saint Telemachus, a 4th century monk who walked into the Colosseum and tried to stop a gladiator fight with his bare hands. The crowd stoned him to death for it. But look at the Colosseum around him. It is a ruin, crumbling, abandoned, overgrown. The Colosseum did not look like this when Telemachus died, which means this is not the moment of his death. It is centuries later. He is not a man in this painting. He is a ghost. And look at what surrounds him. Those are not gladiators and spectators. They are the dead, martyrs, monks, and nuns, rising out of the darkness of the arena floor. Every person killed in that building, returning. Benlliure did not paint a martyrdom. He painted a haunting. The Colosseum, empty and broken, filled with everyone it consumed. Critics in 1887 called it incomprehensible because they were searching for a story. Benlliure was not telling one. He was showing what a place remembers. Most people will look at this and see chaos. You now see a building full of ghosts. The hidden language of symbols gives you that for every painting you will ever see. Link in my bio.
Can you repeat everything that you just said about the high number of disappearances in the national park system and what you really think is going on?
These parks function as human cattle pens for things that live below. The entities operating out of these DUMBs, deep underground military bases, aren't just random monsters. Many of them have been here a very long time. The underground bases are joint operations between human military intelligence groups and these non-human groups. The disappearances serve multiple purposes: genetic harvesting, emotional energy farming, soul trapping, and experimentation. The folded clothes and shoe phenomenon is particularly disturbing. It suggests the person was being processed before going underground. The official story of bears, falls, and getting lost is laughable when you look at the volume and the pattern. The parks are not the safe wilderness they're sold as. They're high-risk zones where the veil between worlds is thin and where things that live below come up to hunt. The disappearances are real, the suppression is deliberate, and what's happening underground is far darker than most people are ready to accept. Thousands of people have gone missing in the national park system, and there is a huge disparity between the amount that go missing in the parks and outside of the parks. A lot of times they vanish without a trace. The rate of vanishings inside the parks is dramatically higher, statistically anomalous. Many of these cases involve experienced hikers, children, or people on marked trails who simply disappeared. The anomalies are consistent and disturbing. Clothes neatly folded and left behind, shoes removed and placed together, people vanishing in clear weather on easy trails, search dogs unable to pick up any scent, and zero physical evidence even after massive searches. National parks operate under the Department of the Interior with different reporting rules. There is no mandatory unified national database. Many cases are quietly closed as presumed dead or exposure without deep investigation. This fragmentation hides the full pattern. The parks serve as protected cover zones, remote, restricted, and with limited oversight, allowing these activities to continue without public scrutiny. This is one of the clearest windows into how much is hidden about the true nature of this realm. Aura out.
In the 1700s,
Heard this before. Too many go missing.
a farmer in England dug up this ancient gold ring. It was heavily worn and inscribed with the name Sinicianus. Decades later, archaeologists found a Roman curse at a different nearby site. It was scratched into lead by a man named Silvianus. He said his ring had been stolen and he believed he knew who had taken it, a man named Sinicianus. So Silvianus gave half the ring's value to the god Nodens and begged the god to deny Sinicianus his health until the ring was returned to the temple. The connection is still debated. It might be the same ring, it might just be a coincidence, but in 1929, the archaeologist excavating the temple asked an Oxford professor to study the strange god named in the curse. That professor was J.R.R. Tolkien. Tolkien later wrote an essay on the name Nodens, and whether this ring directly inspired the One Ring from Lord of the Rings is impossible to prove, but he stood close enough to the story that the possibility has never gone away.
Large reptilians, they ran into the pocket of them, and like 4 airmen or something along those lines ended up losing their lives.
This guy is a veteran and the host of the Lunatics and Legends podcast. So this story he's telling is from someone he met that claimed to be an O5 in the Air Force.
There is an entire tunnel system that already reaches from Phoenix to LA. There was reports of, while they were burrowing through the ground, they, I guess, came into some type of hive of large reptilians. They were briefed on it. They knew that they existed because they've ran into them before. It was something to do with, like, basically they just shut down the elevator and was like, nope, they're staying down there, because they ran into the pocket of them. 4 airmen or something along those lines ended up losing their lives because they just stumbled into this thing. And I was blown away.
Humans interacting with reptilians is an ancient story. It goes back thousands of years. And are we just now rediscovering that they are here?
Most accused witches were hanged. In Finnmark, they burned. Pull up a chair and let's talk about the Vardø witch trials. On the far northwestern edge of Norway, Vardø is situated on the Barents Sea, really close to the Russian border. Being part of the Arctic Circle, this area is well known for vicious sudden storms. Stick around to the end because the story starts with a storm and ends in fire. On Christmas Eve in 1617, a particularly violent storm swept through eastern Finnmark. Dozens of boats went down and about 40 men drowned. This is the kind of loss that a small town like Vardø might never recover from. Surely, the storm could not have been natural. Authorities and neighbors started to blame witchcraft. Unfortunately, Vardø's troubles happened at the dawn of the witch panic in Europe, which impacted large tracts of England, Scotland, Germany, and eventually the colonies. This local hysteria coincided with a 1617 royal ordinance issued by King Christian IV of Denmark and Norway that strictly criminalized witchcraft. In 1621, the first major panic of the Vardø witch trials targeted several women, most notably Elsa Knutsdatter, Mari Jorgensdatter, and Kirsti Sorensdatter. These women and 6 others were accused of using sorcery to conjure the devastating Christmas Eve storm of 1617. All 10 were convicted and burned at the stake. But the witch trials were far from over in Finnmark. The second wave resulted in the execution of 17 women in 1653, this time specifically targeting Sami women indigenous to the region. Confessions were most often obtained through intense torture, including the ordeal by water, in which a woman would literally have to drown in order to prove herself not a witch. The third and largest wave between 1662 and 1663 was ignited by the testimony of Dorte Lotsardottir, who was interrogated at Vardø's fortress after a local man, Loritz Brass, claimed she had bewitched and killed 2 of his servants. Under torture, Dorte confessed to leading a group of witches, manifested as birds, in a failed attempt to sink a ship, including a young girl named Maren Olsdotter. At the end of the third wave, over 30 women would be put on trial. 18 to 20 of these women were burned at the stake, and 2 of the women died from the effects of extreme torture before they could be executed. By the end of the persecutions, courts had tried more than 100 people in Finnmark and executed 91. Across Norway as a whole, there were roughly 750 accusations and about 300 death sentences. If you'd like to know what the first 4 women who were accused were supposedly guilty of, Elsa Knutsdatter had been seen feeding a black cat. And under torture, she implicated her neighbors.
My goodness, feeding a black cat? I have 2 black cats, Noctis and Kamala.
They were convicted of tying a knot and spitting on it 3 times. You'll find more dark history, mysteries, and folklore on my program.
My goodness. Age 12 is just crazy. Tying a knot and spitting on it 3 times. You cannot make this stuff up.
I really don't want to be that guy, but this whole Lindsey Graham thing is so freaking suspect. If you just listen to me, I'm sure you will agree with what I am saying. I don't even make videos anymore, but something so sinister is happening right in front of us. He was just fine yesterday. And then what Iran, shut up, post. But there's so much more than that. Do you know that his birth date and then his death date is September 11? You get it? Right? So what happened when that happened in September 2001? Well, we went into a major conflict, right? But what else is that number and 11? The angel over the bottomless pit, right? Apollo, Abaddon, Apollyon, you know? That's funny, because we know that arch is being built, right? The Apollo's arch is clearly Apollo on that arch. Osiris, Lucifer, the Lightbringer, the list goes on and on and on. It's him. The same Apollo that's said to be summoned into a sitting leader of sorts, right? In the 40s, we had the Moonchild rituals and the Babylon all working together over just a very few decades, leading to Nisha, right? And all this stuff happening in the skies. And now we have SpaceX covering up things in the sky. And we happen to have a leader that just loves Apollo all up in his New York City building. We have Apollo worship everywhere, right? But let's start right here. It's incredibly suspect that Iran drops this Lego thing. Almost like they're insinuating that they are the ones that did this. And what's even crazier, in this video behind me that you're seeing, he's hanging out with a little one, and then a hooded figure walks up, and then something happens to him, right? Well, and then in the video it also shows Loomer. And then we have Loomer, who's been saying something big's about to happen in the United States for months now. She's been saying that there's going to be some major attack in the United States. And it's like, how would she know that, right? He was also just meeting in Kyiv, right? However you pronounce it. Pretty weird. So you have some people who say, oh, well, Russia probably did it, right? We know that he's famous for saying that it's the best investment ever. You know, all these Russians losing their lives based off, you know, what, we're not getting into that. And then Iran drops that video, alluding to maybe they did something. The question is he really dead in the first place?
Look at King
Do you think it's possible that his death has been faked?
Tut's dagger. And when you look at the scarab on his big brooch, his chest piece, that was made out of this Tektite Jupiter lapis-looking stone, and then you realize that Cybele was a meteor fragment. You realize that Diana, that fell from Zeus in the book of Ephesians, was a meteorite fragment. When you look at the fact that these meteorites, these black rocks, were venerated. And I'm of the ilk that I believe all things wind down. I think entropy applies to civilization as well. I don't think we're getting smarter than the ancients. I think we're getting more cool toys, maybe, but I think that we're far more in the dark ages than most people realize.
So now we're going to go to Clinton Road in New Jersey. And now Clinton Road makes the list of most haunted highways across the board. Every list I looked at, it was always part of it. This is one that I heard of when I was living in New York. The road itself dates back to the 18th and early 19th centuries. The region was dominated by iron mining and smelting operations in the forests of northern New Jersey. And one of the most notable remnants of that era is what's called the Clinton Furnace, which is an iron smelting site built in 1826, and the ruins are still right next to the road. Over time, the area became sparsely populated, surrounded by thick woodland and reservoirs, and the lack of development meant long stretches of Clinton Road remained dark and empty at night, which of course helps the haunted legends flourish. But the most famous legend on Clinton Road centers around a small bridge at the bend called Dead Man's Curve. According to local folklore, a young boy drowned in the creek beneath the bridge decades ago. The circumstances vary depending on who tells the story. Some say he fell while sitting on the bridge railing. Others say he jumped to avoid an oncoming car. The legend says that if a visitor throws a coin into the water below the bridge, the boy's ghost will toss it back to the road. Some people claim to have seen the coin reappear mysteriously, while others say the spirit pushes people who lean too far over the bridge. Many visitors have tested the legend over the years, of course, as one does. Some report nothing happening, while others say the coin disappeared or seemed to move.
Man, I gotta say, I don't know if I'd be one to test that legend.
I wouldn't test the leaning part. I might test the coin toss.
Yeah. Yeah, the coin toss, but like the leaning, it's like, oh yeah, the kid's supposed to push you over. I'd be like, Drew, go over there.
It's like, you go.
Drew, go. You go test it.
Go to bed, Kurt.
Forgot about that.
Obviously, the serpent tempts her. She eats the apple, and what is the first experience that they have? Realizing that they're naked.
Yeah.
Right? Their very first experience, once it's happened, is the introduction of fear and shame. They didn't know they were naked before, but now they hide themselves. God says, who told you were naked? Because obviously he knows. The consequence, dimensionally, of eating that apple, they were operating above the third dimension, and because God dwells high above the third dimension. Right. So they were basically in God's presence in this garden. There was no separation. But as a consequence of eating that apple, they became bound by time, and they then realized they were naked because then they were restricted to seeing in the third dimension. They couldn't see higher than that anymore. Truly, this is the breakdown of our human experience as a whole, is she eats the apple, and suddenly it becomes harder to follow God's voice because it looks like things are scary.
But Alicia kept her at arm's length. She always felt that something was off with Taylor. Yet she remained cordial while gathering intel and making sure her I's were dotted and her T's were crossed.
Okay, so my friends who were actually there, they're no angels. But even they are freaked out. There are these secret tunnels running under the whole event. Veins going straight down into hell or something. They were bringing up victims, like kids, really young. They came up through the tunnels all scared and shaking.
At the center of the ceremony stands the true heart of the ritual. A massive Moloch altar. A golden bull roaring with furnace fire in its belly. The Hollywood elites, 1,000 strong, circled it in masks as the real work began. No wonder the security is off the charts.
Weapons Iceberg, Part 1. Alright, first up we have the bow and arrow. Archaeological evidence suggests that the bow and arrow was invented at least 70,000 years ago and then spread around the world pretty slowly actually. The bow is an amazing weapon. It can shoot little arrows really fast, which is very good for hunting because you can stay concealed and shoot animals really far from you. You can also carry plenty of ammunition with you, which is good for long hunts or hunting multiple animals and also for warfare. You can be extremely accurate with this weapon, and the only real drawbacks is that they are very difficult to make. Finding and shaping the right bow wood is hard. It's really hard to make a strong, durable string, and the arrows themselves take a lot of time to make. You gotta add the fletchings, they gotta be a perfect stick, and also the arrowhead too. But now we're moving on to a much more niche weapon, the bola. The bola is basically just 3 strings with rocks at the end that you spin above your head and throw at prey. It's really good at immobilizing 2-legged prey animals such as birds or even humans. They were used around much of the world at different points in history, notably South America. They are pretty difficult to use and don't work with every game animal, so that's why they weren't used all over the world. But next we have the harpoon. Harpoons, or barbed points, go back 800,000 years. This right here was made by Homo erectus. It was carved from an animal's rib and likely propelled on a spear to catch fish. This artifact is absolutely insane. We hardly have anything else like it from this time period. And if we fast forward 700,000 years, we have the oldest harpoon that was made by our species. The katana spear point is 90,000 years old, and it was likely used to target large catfish. As the Stone Age went on, barbed points spread all over the world, and they got extremely complex like these examples from Western Europe during the Ice Age. But now we're moving on to the sling. The sling has been used around the world for thousands of years. The first evidence is around 8,000 years old in the Middle East, but they're probably a lot older than that because they don't really survive. It's just made of string. And what it is just 2 pieces of string with a pouch in the middle, and you put a projectile in the middle there, and then you just spin it over your head. Wow. And you just throw it, man. It's really cool. You can throw rocks almost 200 miles an hour, like almost twice as fast as some of the best MLB pitchers, and you're throwing a rock. So super deadly weapon, and it was used a lot in ancient warfare, but also for hunting and also for herding your livestock. You guys have to check out my full video about the sling. I just uploaded it to YouTube. It's like 26 minutes long, and I cover everything about the sling, the history, the oldest slings, and I test them on ballistics show and a bunch of other targets. It's insane. They're as powerful as a gun. You guys have to check it out.
Yeah, man. David wasn't playing with that sling.
They got them, and they got a lot of them. I was asked by a commenter to do a video on the men that wear pearl necklaces in Hollywood.
Yep, we know what pearl necklace means. They're, fruity.
I know many of you in my comment section are going to say it's just a fashion trend that started in the early 2000s, and some of it is going to need a little bit of explaining. However, I feel like the more images I show you, the more it'll make sense. Let's just call it free advertising, if you will. Could it be a fashion trend? Sure. But if we know anything about Hollywood, there's a deeper meaning to everything that they do. Justin Bieber, Justin Bieber loves his pearl necklaces. And not just any kind of pearl necklaces, sometimes they have these kids' charms on them, which kind of reminds you of the theme from the Yummy video. Jaden Pinkett Smith would be another one. And it was also interesting to me how, during the time that he was wearing his pearl necklaces, he went from this to this. And I believe, in a few outings, there were some signs. MGK is another one. MGK really, really loves his pearl necklaces. In fact, he took this fashion trend to an entirely different level, with pearls all over his face. Pharrell Williams. Some like them long and dangly, while others like them tightly wrapped around their neck, like Christian Combs, P. Diddy's son, who wears them often. Dave Bautista would be
Oh, not him. Come on, man. I used to like him.
Completely unrecognizable, by the way. In which he likes to pair his sometimes with his Basquiat tattoo. If you know, you know. If you don't know, let me know in the comments and we can circle back to the crown tattoos. Shockingly enough, another one would be Pete Davidson. And you will start noticing a difference between celebrities that wear them and celebrities that don't, but instead, like Jay-Z, gifts them to their minions. And I think that some of you like to believe that the media doesn't know what they're doing when they are giving free advertising for fashion trends. However, it does kind of make one wonder why Hollywood sets trends to begin with, and why they want your children to be engaged in what they're interested in. And you tell me, is it just fashion? Is it free advertising and subliminal messaging? Or is there some kind of power behind this trend that Hollywood men started? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section.
I think we skipped timelines again, y'all. Because when did Chick-fil-A going back to have a K instead of just a C? If you can remember, before CERN shut down, the word Chick-fil-A did not have a K in it. And I specifically remember it just having a C because everyone said we were crazy when we said the K was missing before. But now it's back. This, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Moon Pie, have me 100% believing Mandela effects are real. And guess what? When they turn CERN back on, it's going to produce 20 times more collisions and 380 million Higgs bosons. So if you can, try to remember everything about this reality that you can and document it. Because when CERN gets turned back on in 4 years, things are going to be a lot different. Nothing's going to be the same. As always, thank you for watching.
Yeah, we don't have Chick-fil-A in Indonesia, so I wouldn't know. But let me know in the comment if this is real or not.
Weird.
I will die on this hill. I believe animals and I believe children when it comes down to the paranormal. 110 fucking %. I am left with more questions than answers as to what happened 12 years ago in 2014 when I was 18 and living in Plumas National Forest, specifically the small town of Quincy, California, while attending Feather River College. I don't know why that was a mouthful, but it was. It was late September when the weather started to turn cooler at night. I had just gotten out of my last class of the day, science, which ended around 9:30 at night. I drove down to the campus rodeo grounds alone, and there are no other lights down there except for my Jeeps, high beams, and the rodeo classroom. I had parked my Jeep, left it running, music blasting, trying to create more noise due to being there alone. The horses were eating their hay, as was my horse. The river behind the college could be heard along the frogs with other night wildlife. I had jumped the gate of my horse's stall and was almost finished putting the blanket on her when everything went dead silent. The horses had gone into flight mode and my horse shot her head up, ears perked forward, and kept me behind her. This behavior is not normal for my horse. This was the only time she acted like this. I got the feeling of your negativity and just needing to get out of there. I jumped the fence and saw two red eyes about 7 feet tall off the ground up on the upper ridge behind my horse's stall. I didn't think twice about getting in my Jeep and driving to my place off campus. The next morning, I checked on my horse, found she wasn't injured. My friends and I went trail riding on the same ridge and found nothing as far as other animals or anything human. If your followers have any idea what I encountered, I would like to know. OP, thank you so much for sending this in. I'm very curious to know as well, because horses aren't just like regular house pets. They are very intuitive animals. They survive the wild often. And for the horse to have reacted that way, it almost felt like it had never seen something like that before. Like whatever this was knew that you were there. Like you were the thing being hunted. That's kind of what it makes me think about. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't been around horses a lot my whole life, which is weird living in
various areas that have a lot of wild horses. But I just feel like whatever this was knew that you specifically were there. I don't know why. I don't know why. Don't ask me why, because I can't explain it. I thought you were in California. So like I'm gonna rule out SWs.
What are you, a witch?
Maybe a shapeshifter, maybe just like a demon in general. Like maybe you saw a ghost that had red beady eyes. I'm not 110% sure what that is. Yeah, there's a lot of different options as to what it could have been. It could have, I know you said there's not a lot of lights there, but maybe something was up on the hill and it was reflecting a light that was up there that you just didn't see. Maybe that's what caught your attention instead. I don't know. I'm trying to rationalize it for you and it's not working. I can't wait to see what everyone has to say about this. I did take a break yesterday. Unfortunately, I think that breaks are going to be a common thing for me now.
Surprise, the war with Iran, shut up, is back on. That's not the only weird thing that's happening today, but let's go over that first. We'll get to a high-level bricklaying distraction in just 1 second. So everything you're seeing behind me right now, that's all happening in Iran. Some people are saying that allegedly it's a carpet bomb. I'm not saying it is. I'm just telling you what people are saying. But they're saying this is the biggest strike since the ceasefire happened. And the question is, are we about to win this war for the 50th time? Y'all think we can do it? So really quick, you know that building in New York City that's like collapsing or about ready to collapse? Well, one, not related, it's an ex-Pfizer building. But guess what floor these videos are coming from with these steel columns buckling? Well, yep, the 33rd floor. Shout out to Minutes of Horror. And then completely unrelated news, seriously this time, people are now able to find these pictures, these Mandela pictures that have been missing for so long, ever since CERN was screwing around. Now that it stopped, all the pictures are back up. Isn't that wild? Yes, the same pictures of things they told us did not exist, and they were gaslighting us, telling us that we remembered it wrong. You all haven't seen me, but trust me, I'm working and you're about to see what I've been working on. Dropping soon, not a video.
I think they used CERN to extend time. We're on borrowed time, folks.
Ancient ruins in Burma have popped out of the ground after an earthquake in what is now Myanmar. Okay, this is wild because Burma's actually gorgeous and they have a really rich culture. And unlike many other
It's between India and Thailand.
governments, the Burmese government gave the okay to excavate quickly after these were discovered. They're just starting, but this place is believed to be a palace and it is huge. Myanmar is known for the pagoda. This guy would have been the biggest one if the king that had commissioned it didn't die and an earthquake didn't take a lot of it out. But right behind it, you'll see what it would have looked like if it was finished. I'm not going to begin to try and pronounce that name, but the place is beautiful. Unfortunately, it was also damaged in this earthquake. But the form they use to build these temples is an advanced geometric concept called the Ford Circle. And the best example of this is their crowning achievement, the Shui Dagon Pagoda. Head to toe, in gold, inside and out, the thing's an absolute unit. Locals say it's 2,600 years old, so we're gonna go with that. You gotta take a minute and realize how crazy this architecture actually is, though. The Ford Circle can be used to perfectly break up harmonic ratios in music. It is a fractal, meaning you can zoom into it as much as you want and the form will stay the same. You can even rotate it and the form will stay the same. It is also one of the only hyperbolic fractals. That's advanced geometry. It's used in deep learning for AI models. Also used in signal processing, and if we travel through a black hole, we have to use that geometry to navigate it, unless you are an Egyptian. There's a mathematical theory of everything called E8, and if you flatten it, it's the same shape as that pagoda. Myanmar is right between India and Cambodia. All three use harmonics in their architecture. Using new acoustic analysis tools and LiDAR, we are seeing so much stuff that is far more advanced than we ever thought, which makes new stuff like this even more exciting.
What's going on, man?
How you doing?
What? Oh no. those broad shoulders. There's a wig. Oh no.
Anyway, that's the story. That's some story. Yeah,
I gotta re-examine my personal biases because I've seen this video for years, and for years I thought this was like in South America, Uruguay, something, right? Yeah, this was in San Diego, La Jolla actually, and I know that because I just went to San Diego, I went to La Jolla, and boy, y'all do not take sea lions seriously over there. And this is as bad as people taking selfie with bison and getting put part-time horizontal. As a society, we are not afraid of seal finger nearly enough, and if you're wondering, that's what happens when a sea lion that lives off a fish without seeing floss or lying on a dentist chair bites you. Just a bacterial infection that could cost you your finger. Also, as a society, we moved on way too quickly from that sea lion that nearly sent a little girl to the gulag. Hey, guideline, she's fine, by the way. And that's not even mentioning what could happen if you run into a hallucinating sea lion. Oh, you don't know? Well, let me learn you something. Basically, it's when you have an algae bloom, red tide, and these blooms can be toxic. The problem is, small fish eat the algae, and then the sea lions eat the fish, so then the beach bears bioaccumulate a neurotoxin that almost turns them into zombies. Sea lions affected with this can suffer seizures, become lethargic, or become wildly, almost rabidly aggressive. One man was surfing when a sea lion jumped him and dragged him off his board, and from the way he was talking about it, you'd swear that sea lion was possessed by a demon. Sea lion almost had him lying under the sea indefinitely. Now this isn't to make you fear sea lion, well actually yeah it is, but like a little bit, healthy fear. Just understand that the day a sea lion bites a person is a day that ends with one less sea lion. I would have thought after y'all got Freya flatlined that we would have learned, but I guess not. Moral of the story, treat sea lions the way you would a grizzly bear, because if you look at the skull, they're already halfway there. The more you know. Why y'all do this?
Guys, do you remember CERN? That machine that obviously everybody swore was going to open a portal and end the world, because they just shut that down and they're building an even more powerful one. They're saying that this is the biggest shutdown that they have ever had in history, and they're spending about $1.5 billion trying to rebuild it. Their plan is to make it about 10 times more powerful with brand new magnets and something that they call crab cavities that slam way more particles together.
As the bunches fly by each other, you would like that basically every particle in this bunch is able to go through the other bunch so that we maximize the probability of it colliding from the other beam.
Which is great. And then they're saying that it's all to study the God particle and finally find dark matter. So, this is the same machine that people claim caused the Mandela effect, where half of the planet swears it was the Berenstein Bears when it was actually the Berenstain Bears. People also think it's been quietly shifting us into parallel universes, so obviously pick your side. So now, conspiracy theorists all online are saying that this upgrade is just a cover story and they turned it off right as reality started to feel like it was shifting. Hey, these are all conspiracies, but what do you think is actually going on in there?
You know the difference between a conspiracy and the truth? 6 to 12 months.
All right, what we got here is liquid crystal polarization.
No.
These are the shape-shifting reptilians. They're also connected to the DMT jesters, aka the Nephilim look like clowns. Now you can see the black and white zigzag pattern on them. Black and white is symbolism for duality. You'll see that symbolism in the Masonic halls and the black and white checkerboard floor, but it's also a technology. It's a technology that represents how they can travel between the etheric and the physical realm. Now you'll notice this guy with his clown face right there. He's a red nose and his clown face. And it's shape-shifting with the black and white zigzag pattern. Now, these beings are also connected to most of the majority of puppets in the government stage are controlled by these beings. See, his mudra is another technology, because mudras are a technology also. Now, the reason these beings are inhabited in the majority of the government officials is because they drink the adrena stuff, and then they can access to these beings with a way more higher potency than DMT. They can contact these beings, and that's where they receive the technology to actually take over society and use everything, because they basically sold their soul to the devils. These are the devils. They are the exiled spirit. You'll notice this keeps on changing. Now, here's another one. This guy drew a demon, and he's showing the demon, and at the same time, he's inhabited by one of these beings. Now, something with the old analog digital networks back in early in the 90s and 2000s, you could see these. The frequency would somehow show these beings. Now, back when I started researching this, I found a couple pictures in this old ancient manuscript called the Betis manuscript. It showed these beings were black and white striped lizards. Now, they, I had translated the page, and the page called them sin, and the page was referencing something about Revelation, and that these things were attached to these people's neck, and they were called sin. Now, you also notice at the Vatican, the Pope's throne sits in a hall, which is a giant lizard head. It's actually looks like the head of a viper. Now, this stuff is not no joke. This stuff is real.
This is wild. You know, the black and white looks like Beetlejuice.
I had been told this story, and this one freaks me out. Nice. So, what is in this oubliette or in this story is not a ghost, it's not a demon, it's not a specific murdered person, it's an elemental. That's what they call it. It appears throughout the castle, but is most frequently reported in and around the Bloody Chapel and the oubliette site. Multiple witnesses, decades apart, with no prior knowledge of each other, like this was before the social media and internet era, have described the same thing. They say that it's the size of a sheep moving on all fours, but not in a way an animal moves. It's in the way a human would move on all fours. It has a human face, blank, empty sockets where the eyes should be, and a smell of sulfur and decomposition. A smell that arrives before you see it. It does not fade gradually. It's present and then is not present, as if like it kind of flickers in and out of existence.
Whoa.
Anne Darby of the English family who owned the castle in the 19th century described in letters an entity in the castle matching that description exactly before the oubliette was discovered. They didn't know it was there. Before the renovation, before the accounts. Her letter was written around 1850. The 1900s accounts match it detail for detail. Sean Ryan claims that he has seen it. His family has seen it. Multiple guests at the castle have seen it. And he doesn't perform like distress about it in interviews. He describes it kind of the way you would describe an annoying neighbor. That something is there, it's got its own quality, and you have to build kind of an accommodation with it. You can't chase it off.
Oh, that rascal.
No, that rascal, that elemental. So in the traditional Celtic belief, an elemental is a non-human entity that has inhabited a place since before human occupation. It is bound to the land itself rather than to human history. There are prehistoric standing stones, the megalithic monuments throughout County Offaly, so similar to if you've seen Outlander or Stonehenge, those kind of standing stones, including near the castle site, indicating ritual human activity in this landscape going back thousands of years before the O'Carroll clan. Whatever the elemental is, whether it predates the O'Carrolls, whether it was drawn by the violence, it seems like it's much, much older. It's bound to the land. It's not a dead person. It's never been a person, and it is still there, and it is still actively being seen.
Ron here. You got to see this.
Where do you think all of this New Age, witchcraft, Freemasonic, all this black magic crap, where do you think that stuff is coming from? Dog, I have been studying Kabbalah for the past however long. Dude, I can now confidently say Judaism sucks. Judaism, dude, it's nasty. And not into like, ooh, you nasty. It's like a Satan kind of nasty. Like, this is the stuff that Epstein was into. This is the stuff that Aleister Crowley was into. Eliphas Levi, Gregory Matthews.
I think there's a difference between Judaism and Kabbalah.
All these people were super, super deep into the occult. And they all loved Kabbalah. And then people will go on to be like, oh, it's just Jewish mysticism. That's just like a denomination of No, dude. Kabbalah, dude, it is like the center. It is like the heart of Judaism. By the way, they put the Babylonian Talmud right next to the Torah in terms of authority, putting man's words right next to God's words. Like, imagine for like 4,000 years, you just have these one group of people interpreting a specific text, but it keeps getting interpreted and interpreted and interpreted and interpreted and interpreted all the way down from teacher to student to student to student and so on and so forth. Big game of telephone with a bunch of lies. You know how I know it's lies? It's because your Messiah already came down.
Yeah.
He already came down. You rejected him because you misinterpreted scripture because of your own flesh. Not even that, they're probably influenced by demons, dude. It's like, dude, Christians have no power. We have to step up our game. This is ridiculous. We got the God of the universe dwelling within us, and you're afraid of like a witch casting a spell on you? Dog, you think their manifestation's like scary? I don't fear it. I know people who do. These people were the first people to find out about manifestation. Instead of using it for God's will, they use it for the kingdom of darkness. They will usher in the Antichrist. I don't say that lightly. There is a reason that God's been having me research this whole entire religion for the past however long. It is nasty stuff. Here, I'll just give you a sneak peek.
Yeah, that's Kabbalah
see that?
right there.
That's called the Tree of Life. They think that the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil were just the same tree. They don't believe that the serpent was Satan, but that it was actually God, or at least like a part of God. Then you get called anti-Semitic for this? Dog. Dude, been down that train. Confidently say I'm not anti-Semitic anymore because of the blood of Jesus. Jew standing right in front of me, I would spread the gospel so fast, dude. It takes love to do that, by the way. This is just how God works. Taking the very people who use his spiritual mechanics for the kingdom of heaven. Imagine how much glory God would receive if he converted the very people who usher in the Antichrist.
This kid's pretty funny and he's spot on. His name's G1 Burn on TikTok if you want to give him a follow.
Kabbalah is supporting Baal as your God. But Christ is the one true God.
One of my favorite videos recently comes from a creator talking about the Appalachian Mountain Range. In this video, she details how old the Appalachian Mountain Range is, how it connects to the Scottish Highlands, and although I have seen similar videos before, she goes into more depth. I'm going to make sure I tag her. But one of the things that I couldn't stop thinking about during that video was how strange, bizarre, and magical the Appalachian Mountain Range is. And there's so many creators on this app who are in the spooky community who almost exclusively detail ghost stories and supernatural events happening there. But it all started to culminate when she was talking about the Appalachian Mountain Range being millions of years old. That's when it started to click for me, that maybe the reason there's so many ghost stories, strange occurrences, and cryptids in the Appalachian Mountain Range is because they're ancient. And part of the reason that these things are able to hide so well is because they've been there for millions of years. Now, of course, I don't know if the cryptids in the Appalachian Mountain Range are in fact real. If the Appalachian Mountain Range is as old as she says it is, which is millennia, older than bones, older than the rings on Saturn, then it makes perfect sense that there are all of these legends that derive from these locations, from the Americas to the Scottish Highlands. So for instance, we'll go with the one in the background here, Bigfoot, resident of the Appalachian Mountain Range and some random ass parts of Alabama and Florida. Not technically the Appalachian Mountain Range, but if you had to have natural cousins, I imagine the Florida swamplands and Appalachia would have a lot in common. On that note, I do have this map here just to show you how wide and how expansive Appalachia is. In the video, she goes in detail as well. It goes from eastern Mississippi through Alabama, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, all the way into New York. So it's not shocking to me that this place, this giant region of the U.S., has its fair share of stories. So let's go into some of the cryptids that live in Appalachia, allegedly. Now, technically, this is the second supernatural on my list behind Bigfoot, but we have the Moon Eye people. Now, while these beings are new to me, they're not new to the Cherokee who live in the area. They've been around forever, and they're described as mysterious beings with moon eyes. They come in a number of descriptions, but this is one of the renderings we have of them. I would definitely do some research, but don't look too hard. Again, some of these things, if you call them, they will answer, so just be cautious, always. The third being on the list is the Wampus Cat. And the stories that I hear about this creature come out of West Virginia primarily, but it has 6 legs. Allegedly, to me, it's not too crazy. You know, again, we do have giraffes out there, so I guess anything can happen, but again, this is a ferocious creature. Allegedly, there have been sightings, but I wouldn't want to run into this thing in the woods. Personally, I think it might just be a puma with a deformity, but another creature coming out of Appalachia is the Mothman. I think this is probably one of the more famous creatures on the list. I'm not going to go into too much detail. You can always Google a story on him. He's pretty famous, but again, native of Appalachia. Now, let's go ahead and hop the ocean over to Scotland. I'll fully admit in this portion of the video that I am not familiar with the Scottish Highlands. Given that, please go easy, and if I make any egregious errors, please just drop it in the comments so that way I can correct it in future videos. But as I see it, a quick Google search reveals that this is the Scottish Highlands. Highlands up here, lowlands up there. To me, you can see that there's a significant coastal area here, and I hope you know where I'm going with this. Enter the Selkie. Now to me, this one's probably more of a stretch than anything, but again, these land masses, these water sources develop together. So it's not shocking.
Scientists think psilocybin could be a radical anti-aging treatment, and the science behind that claim is pretty serious. Here's the core idea. Aging isn't just time passing, it's the accumulation of inflammation. Researchers call it inflammaging, a state of chronic low-grade inflammation that runs in the background of the aging body, slowly damaging the brain, driving things like depression, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And all the drugs we currently use for older people are poorly suited to the actual biology of these conditions. Antidepressants rely on serotonin that isn't produced anymore. Benzodiazepines cause falls and are associated with movement problems. Generally, the standard toolkit is just not up to the challenge. But psilocybin works differently. It acts directly on serotonin receptors, so declining serotonin production doesn't get in the way. It activates a receptor called TRKB, the docking point for BDNF, the protein the brain uses to grow and rewire itself. No existing drug does this. It also dials down neuroinflammation at the genetic level, and a single dose has been shown to lower inflammatory markers in the blood for up to a week. But it gets even more interesting. A 2025 study from Emory University treated human cells with psilocin, the metabolite of psilocybin, and watched what happened. Cellular lifespan extended by up to 57%, telomeres were preserved, and longevity proteins were activated. Aged mice given psilocybin lived significantly longer than controls and had much healthier fur. This is early science, but the NIH is now funding dedicated research. The biology is compelling, and we're at a stage where the question being asked is no longer whether psilocybin can help with depression, it's can it slow the aging process itself. For a compound once written off as a counterculture relic, that is an extraordinary place to be. For a full breakdown of this study, sign up to my newsletter by clicking the link in my bio.
There is currently a schism happening within the Catholic Church.
Over what school of thought?
So July 2nd, 2026, the Vatican officially declared the Society of St. Pius X has entered into formal schism after it consecrated 4 new bishops without Pope Leo's approval.
Oh boy.
Under Catholic canon law, consecrating bishops without the papal mandate is considered a schismatic act and carries automatic excommunication.
Whoa.
The Vatican II was basically like making the Church of Christ more accessible to the world. Before that, all Catholic masses were held in Latin. Now bring in their own languages, be more inclusive. When the Vatican II happened, they're like,
so they knew they were causing trouble.
They're saying it's a further rip within the Catholic Church that we haven't seen in decades.
How do we go from here instead of letting it divide the church? Like, that's got to be the highlight here, is how do we bounce back from this?
Where do you go from here? Stay the path of Jesus Christ. God bless.
People are experiencing time moving slower. Since CERN shut down, they're saying that it feels like time is moving slower. Their days feel long again, almost as if they're in their childhood. Have you guys had any of that experience? I have. I just want to give you an opportunity before I say something.
2 nights in a row. I know this sounds stupid, but I fell asleep very early for who I am. I'm a night owl, so I stay up late. The first night, I think it was Monday. It was Monday and Tuesday this week. Monday, I fell asleep at like 7:40, and I woke up like the best sleep I've had in a long time. I was knocked out, fell asleep, woke up really early, and it was like my day felt like it was, just expanded. Like it felt like when I went to bed at 7:40 that it was normal time. And then the following night, I went to bed at like 9:30, and it was just like
old soul.
It's like I was eating dinner at like 4:00 in the evening,
Early bird special.
Yeah,
literally that's my dinner time. But I got these kids, and bedtime's 7:30 every day.
It's just weird. Like I felt like I was living my life like I was a 65-year-old man, and I was waking up early. That's a weird occurrence.
So
for me.
you experienced a different sleep pattern since this has shut down.
Best sleep I've had in a while.
And for me, as far as time goes, I have noticed, especially in the last week or two, I have noticed my days feel like they're longer in the sense that I'm looking at the clock, and before I look at the clock, I feel like the sense of accomplishment, like, man, I'm cooking today. And I look at the clock, I'm like, what? What time is it? Because I feel like for the amount that I got done, I should be like getting ready to have dinner,
Well, I disagree, because the days have been flying for me.
Don't just freaking walk by these things. Look, be aware. You see these markings? These ain't graffiti. This is a coded grid system. And what you're looking at right here, this isn't for utilities. This is resonance tech. Got 4 lines, each with a circle right in the middle. That's a 4-pulse harmonic system. It's a rail. It's like a tuning fork etched into concrete. Every person that walks across it, they get scanned, realigned, and disrupted without ever knowing. Each of those circles, that's a frequency node. And those red verticals, that's a data stream. They're not pulling pipes, they're pulling patterns. Your breath, your pace, your aura. The pulse system where it continues into the route. Arc flash means this box sends bursts of energy, literal invisible discharges that can burn skin, knock you out, or even worse. But what they don't tell you is it also throws resonance pulses into the field. Not just physical danger, energetic disruption, guys. This is how they condition crowds. Pulse fear, control flow. It isn't science fiction. It's right here on our sidewalks, guys.
Now we have the Yamnaya of people who are different from the Proto-Indo-Europeans, right? Not exactly. Culturally, linguistically, and genetically, these are the exact same peoples. The reason that they are given a new name is because they moved. That's it. That's all it takes to become a new culture. All you have to do is leave your home territory, go somewhere else. Archaeologists and historians just give you a new name. And this is a pattern that we will see repeated over and over again throughout all of these various migrations, which is what makes this so interesting. Many of these people, genetically, linguistically, they're the exact same people. They just picked up and moved somewhere else and were given a new name. Genetically, the Yamnaya were, like their Proto-Indo-European ancestors, a blend of Eastern hunter-gatherers from Russia and Caucasus hunter-gatherers from the Caucasus Mountain regions. But their culture had hardened into something that was more recognizable than what the Proto-Indo-Europeans were at the time. When they first entered Europe, the Yamnaya men were able to overwhelm and outcompete all of the local Neolithic farmers that they encountered. This was largely due to their diet, which was heavy on meat and dairy products, as opposed to the Neolithic farmers whose diet was mostly centered around cereals and grains and stuff like that. Because of this, the Yamnaya men were able to outcompete the locals and intermarry with the Neolithic farmer women. As these migrations continued throughout Europe, this is where we start to see the crystallization of these new distinct archaeological cultures. We have the corded ware in the north and central regions and the Belbeeker people in the west.
Spooky is hidden behind a triangle. Welcome back to another episode of the Spooky Triangle series, where we hyperfixate on geographical areas that have strange disappearances but also just so happen to be shaped like a triangle. Everyone talks about the Bermuda Triangle, but no one talks about the Alaskan Triangle, where 16,000 people have just vanished into thin air. No one talks about the Lake Michigan Triangle or the Dragon Triangle. Today we're going to be talking about the Bennington Triangle, because if you thought it was just the water that's creepy, it's also on land. Let's get into it. We are going to be going all the way back to 1945 with the disappearance of Mitty Rivers. TikTok, this is for educational purposes only. Please do not tussle with me. Mitty Rivers was an expert hunter. I'm talking about he knew the woods better than most of the locals. One day he was guiding a hunting party. He walked slightly, I'm talking about ever so slightly, ahead of the group and disappeared into thin air. Because of the strange nature of the disappearance, they set out so many search parties, and these search parties were massive. No one found anything but a handkerchief with his DNA on it. To this day, they have no idea what happened. I completely forgot to mention where this is even at. Sorry guys. This is in a region of southwestern Vermont. Now this next one literally helped shape the Vermont police. In 1946, an 18-year-old college student named Paula Weldon was walking up the long trail wearing a bright red coat. She walked up the bend and there was multiple witnesses saying that they saw her, and then she was never seen again. Again, massive search parties. They brought out the dogs. Literally, the disappearance was so strange and so like earth-shattering, heartbreaking to the community that it helped shape the police. Like they cracked down and banded together to make a whole police department because of the disappearance of Paula Weldon. Now this one is so heartbreaking. I mean, they're all heartbreaking, but this one tugged my soul. In 1950, Paul Buddy Jepson, an 8-year-old little boy, was left in a truck while his mother was working nearby. Anyway, I try not to judge because you never know what people have to go through to work, but really, he ends up vanishing and the bloodhounds track his scent to a nearby road. Now, I'm sure that you can put two and two together on what probably happened to Buddy. The question here is, with the Bennington Triangle, is it more of a supernatural vibe, like with the Dragon Triangle and the Alaskan Triangle, or is there something lurking in the wood, just waiting for its next victim? I don't know, serial unaliver maybe? As always guys, make sure you like and follow, comment down below if you guys want another part to this series.
Well, it appears our theme is continuing, and that is of people acting out of the ordinary, things happening to them that they can't explain. The following footage comes actually
movie
from
Smile.
a couple and their friends. They were celebrating his girlfriend's birthday when she started acting completely abnormal and weird, and this scary looking smile like just came over her. They're calling it a possession, and the kicker is she doesn't remember any of this. And the footage was captured in Brazil.
I think that's
Take a look
AI.
at this. Comment below. Let us know what you think.
Nessa Peraí, gente, peraí. O que foi, amor, que você tá assim?
Que isso?
Meu Deus. Será que você tá bem?
Tá tudo
Amor,
bem.
o que é isso? Tá me assustando com esse sorriso aí.
Ela tá muito estranha.
Amor,
O que tá sorrindo?
amor, tô falando sério. Você já viu ela assim?
Gente, eu vou gravar.
Meu, tá estranho isso daí.
Não tá certo.
Eu vou gravar. Amor, a vela apagou, gente. Que viagem. Mas essas velas fazem isso. Amor, muda esse rostinho, vai ficar feliz.
A vela acendeu.
Ô, louco, mas apaga a velinha, amor, vai. Depois a gente canta de novo. Você tá assustando a gente, amor. Você tá bem?
Eu tô com medo.
Meu, a gente vai ter que chamar
Que
Oh, não, não, não.
Meu Deus.
Não, amor. Poxa, que é isso, gente? Meu Deus, para.
Eu só queria o bolo.
Ajuda, gente. Gente, a gente vai ter que chamar socorro. Não sei o que ela tá tendo. Ela tá com algum problema.
It's not even good
Isso é normal?
AI.
Meu Deus, gente. Amor, amor. Não fica assim, não. Você tá... Por que você tá fazendo isso? Tá trolando a gente, né?
É pegadinha, é pegadinha. Cadê?
Gente, chama uma ambulância. Vamos chamar uma ambulância.
You know the Beatles actually practice Satanism.
Oh no.
On the album cover is Aleister Crowley, and this is audio from their record. And that says, "Turn me on, dead man." And this album, which is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, was released 20 years after the death of Aleister Crowley. And the opening line to that album says, "It was 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play." Ooh. But the scariest thing to me, in Thelema, there's actually a practice where they use the reversal of speech as a practice of magic.
Oh, good thing you just played it for all of us.
Gonna lank you like Superman as the name of the entity or being that they're creating in Thelema on their record. Aleister Crowley is credited with the art of, they call it backmasking techniques. This is on the Beatles records. It goes back to Satanism.
Yeah.
That video scared me a lot. Next time, just do the words.
All right, folks. Thank you for staying till the end. I hope you like my lineup. Don't forget to subscribe, likes, and hit that bell notifications if you won't miss.
There's still a chance to stop them.
Oh, someone scratch my back.
Turret's destroyed. Watch for the
Now I got you.
Better stop that vehicle. We hit a checkpoint. Now might be a good time to stop them.
Oh, I'm not gonna make it easy. Need some help. This is a nice spot.
Better stop that vehicle.
You're ready for action.
Every little bit helps.
Thanks for the boost. Healing power. Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man! This is real firepower! Executioner! You're welcome.
Don't give them another inch. Or else.
Rest easy, big fella. Someone put this! Someone scratch my back. I'll patch you up. Relay deployed.
Time to switch things up, including which side you're on. You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Who are you calling a raccoon, huh?
You are insignificant.
Round 3, go!
You are insignificant.
Who are you? Groot's always with me. You'll see what I mean.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
I wish I had been trained in the Red Room instead of Weapon X.
Trust me, you don't. Growing up in
Who are you calling a rat?
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it? Only 60 seconds left.
I fought for you to die. Has finally arrived. Under there. That should make a difference. Hey, Chad! Someone clip this!
30 seconds. The final 10 seconds!
Buffed and beautiful, baby!
Nowhere yet. Going to overtime! The current score is 3, 2, 3. Time to switch things up, including which side you're on. The right heroes could make all the difference. Round 4, go! Yep. Dun, 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 dun. They'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong. How are you?
I hear that your friend Moon Girl makes some epic mixtapes. Think that I could ever make it onto one of her playlists?
Extra strength awesomeness. The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have to stop them from securing the mission area. Only 60 seconds left.
I know I'm new to this. She's gonna be very angry. However they are, they don't look friendly, persistent,
Hey, Chad!
feeling fantastic.
Down to 30 seconds. Final score, 3, 2, 4. Well, you can't expect to win them all. Which hero do you think you want to be today? Now, who am I gonna banish from this match? You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Who are you calling a raccoon, huh? with me. Who are you calling a raccoon, huh?
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
And for once, I may actually need him. You're looking good, Hella. Well, evil, but in a good way, you know? Whatever. You want to grab a bite after this?
Are you attempting to court me? Interesting. I was led to believe that you were smitten with death.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Too late. But I will admit, your rough flesh does smell
See? I'm flying.
Why would I need healing?
Love that healing feeling. I enjoyed that one.
You're halfway there. Keep going.
Dota's blessing.
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
I'll get you to avenge it.
The vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
I'll patch you up.
You're halfway there. Keep going. Almost there. Don't turn back now.
Healing. Why would I need healing?
The vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
I look out for a little bit with her. You just put the needle in Magneto.
Well, okay. I bring hell down on their heads.
Truly your best.
Healing. Why would I need healing?
Who's the best? Ladies!
That's it. Don't let anything stand in your way.
Armed and dangerous! I'll get you in no time. I feel like I'm so good.
So close. This is your big chance. is 3, 2, 0. Time to switch things up, including which side you're on. The right heroes could make all the difference. They'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong.
Oh, look at the sweet little puppy. Come here, baby. Daddy's got belly rubs.
Back off, or I'll blast your face so hard they'll find your teeth in another dimension.
Ow, son of a... Pupper's got some bites. Okay. You know, I've been looking for a new...
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Got it, freak?
Slightly less so You're welcome. I'm very hard.
Those guys are about to shoot at us.
You've been judged, Daredevil. Harshly.
I'm taking damage. Get me some healing.
You stop them in their tracks.
Why would I need healing?
Much better.
You stop them in their tracks.
Go, Deadpool!
Who could fight the I am barely.
You stop them in their tracks.
Namor's subject of nation. Oranges and bad.
Your powers are mine! Hell and leave!
Only 60 seconds left.
I feel like myself again.
Oh, let's play a game!
Release the
Hey, Dee! Enjoy the air!
Final 10 seconds!
Hey, the human host is down!
No winner yet! Going to overtime!